Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've addressed this, but there's a lot of controversy, especially in traditional circles, around the Divine Mercy
Okay.
image, and I'm not sure if you've looked into this. I don't find the objections convincing, but you'll find people out there saying that this is a demonic trick. It ought to be rejected by all Catholics. And the three things they tend to point to is, one, there doesn't appear to be wounds within Christ's hands and feet, and that's a sign that this could be the devil. Secondly, that there are some problematic passages, some things that Christ said in the Divine Mercy diary. I mean, Christ said quite a lot within that diary. It's quite big. And there you go, there's that. Thirdly, I think this book was actually condemned or suppressed for a time before John Paul II reviewed it. Have you encountered this? And
I've encountered the latter more than the former two. Matt, could you show me your palms? Just hold them up. Dude, you may be satanic. There's no wounds in your palms. Just wanted you to be aware of that.
Thanks, man. Well, that's different to having an image of someone who claims to be Christ, is what they would say.
Did Jesus have wounds in his hands when he was a baby?
No, but
how about when he was 12?
No.
How about when he was 30, when he started his ministry?
No.
So we've seen that Christ had no wounds in his hands for over 30 years. And then he had wounds in his hands. How long were those wounds in his hands before he died?
I don't know.
Maybe 3 hours, if that's how long crucifixion took.
Sure.
So we have, and even after he came back, he was only around for a limited time. So maybe he had wounds for a few hours or days or even a few weeks compared to over 30 years with no wounds. So do I got to always make a picture of Jesus from that last portion of his life? Or can I make pictures of Jesus that don't depict him at the end of his life?
Well, to that, there is clearly the wound in his side. I mean, the Divine Mercy image kind of hinges on the wound, the blood and water that come in.
So,
here's the quick answer for you. I think people have said, actually, you look at a high-resolution image, and they actually are there.
Yeah, I was
it just so happens
there.
that when you look at Christ in the Divine Mercy, he's not doing this.
I was going to go there next. And I was going to point out that Sister Faustina hated the images. She was not happy with the images of the Divine Mercy that were painted. She thought they didn't capture what she'd actually seen. So I don't think, for multiple reasons, I don't think we have any grounds for saying there's something demonic here.
Yeah.
So what was the second argument?
Well, one of them was that there seems to be problematic or possibly heretical things that Christ said to Faustina.
Okay, so 2 points. The first one is apparently a lot of these things were due to translation issues that were, because originally they had a flawed Italian translation that was why the work ended up on the Index of Forbidden Books back when that was a thing. But then when they looked at it more closely in the original and with an individual like John Paul II, who was a native speaker of Polish, they said, yeah, this isn't actually what you're thinking. This is not problematic the way you think it is. Even then, private revelations are not scripture. They are not divinely inspired.
Necessarily inerrant, right?
Yeah, they're not inerrant. They're contingent on the consciousness of the seer. And so, if you look at the norms for judging private apparitions, it points out that the seer's consciousness may add elements to what they're perceiving. This is their perception and their memory of what the revelation was like. This is not gospel. And so, if you have someone who is not a theologian and is trying to articulate, I mean, even our theological language by professional theologians is a reduction of the full divine mystery into terms we can understand. So if you have someone who's not even a theologian, who's trying to express what they saw of the divine mystery, it can get kind of flattened and, expressed in such a way that it could be open to some criticism.
Yeah.
But if it's not fundamentally opposed to the Christian faith, then that doesn't stop it from being a genuine divine revelation, just of a private nature.
Here's another objection, which you're going to love. You're going to hate it.
Okay. I detected the sarcasm.
Good, yeah, just in case. Somebody said, well, another reason to think this is demonic is that it prevents people from praying the Rosary, because you have to pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet on rosary beads, and therefore people are substituting the Holy Rosary, which the Blessed Virgin told us to pray, with the Divine Mercy Chaplet, thereby subverting the Rosary, and that's why less people are praying the Rosary today.
Okay. So I guess I would say a number of things.
How many exactly?
How do we know? Well, two spring to mind.
Okay.
So the first one is this. Where does the Virgin Mary tell us we need to pray the Rosary?
They would say Fatima.
Okay, so what category does Fatima go into?
Private revelation.
So we've got one private revelation on this proposal being pitted against another private revelation. So that's
demonic, though, remember?
No. That's don't get to assume that. Secondly, did Mary at Fatima say, pray only the Rosary, and please don't show devotion to my son?
She did not.
She did not.
Is
that the kind of thing that the Virgin Mary would be likely to say?
It is not likely.
Yeah. So I think Mary would probably be okay with having Christocentric devotions.
Yeah.
If you're praying them on her rosary beads, I think she'd go, be my guest, have more devotion to my son.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think of an analogy. That would be like saying, well, the brown scapular is something everybody should wear. Mm-hmm. There are other colored scapulars that came about after the fact, therefore they compete with the brown scapular, therefore we have good reason to think that, yeah.
All those other scapulars are demonic.
Why do we do this?
Well, there is a regrettable tendency among Christians, not just Catholics, but including Catholics, to leap to the demon hypothesis when there is inadequate justification for it. I did a whole episode of Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. It's episode 188. Mm-hmm. People can get to it by going to mysterious.fm/188 on how we need to not leap to the demon hypothesis without evidence, and how yet that frequently happens, and it makes us look ridiculous as Christians, and it also harms us. I mean, imagine if in the past, every unexplained thing was just attributed to demons. We wouldn't be broadcasting right now because we wouldn't have electricity.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have modern technology. We wouldn't have modern medicine. If you just attribute everything you don't understand to demons, you would basically put us back in the Iron Age.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So please pray your Divine Mercy Chaplet. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.